would like to thank them for the privilege of living on their land and the gift of working with their children. Adoption of the agenda, that the Board of Education adopt the June 23rd, 2020 regular board meeting agenda as presented. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Michelle. Seconder. Thank you, Janice. Board minute meetings. Recommended that the Board of Education adopt the May 26th, 2020 regular board meeting minutes as presented. The minutes are in our package on page 4. Do I have a mover? Thank you very much, Trustee Hawksby. Seconded, Trustee Howe. Old business, we have none. Report on the in-camera, we had a discussion of personnel, and we will be returning to an in-camera meeting at the end of this one, at the end of our public board meeting. Board Chair's report. I had intended to sort of try to encapsulate our year in this report. So I went back and had a look at all of the things that we had accomplished in the first part of the year, going into the new year, and boundary and consultations. And there was 6 pages of events and things that we had achieved. Far too much for me to take into a board report, board chair's report at this point. We would have been here for hours doing that. So I looked at just June. And since the beginning of June, I have attended well over a dozen meetings. I think it's around 15 at this point, and events, including the last virtual grad on June 11th, and all 3 high school grads held last Saturday. The LNATC grad was a truly beautiful virtual tribute to each of their hardworking graduates. The families and the staff who supported our Indigenous students every step of the way on their educational journey. Congratulations to each of the grads for their achievement and their continued successes. Each of the drive-by grads on Saturday was fantastic to see. As graduates in their beautiful gowns and suits crossed the stage to receive their dogwood and to then join their families in celebration. I heard many parents express not only their gratitude, but their joy in this year's grad being such a family-focused experience for them. Each of the graduations was different, yet each was the same, and none were like what they'd ever been before. Our congratulations and best wishes for a successful, happy future goes out to all of the wonderful grads of 2020. I will not go into all of the meetings I have attended, but the first was with the district DPAC, and I must most sincerely thank Danita Schmidt and all of the DPAC executive for their hard work and ongoing support of the district and senior staff all the way through the many challenges and changes that were experienced over the last 4 months. For all parents who may be wondering what September will look like and bring, I would recommend that they visit the district webpage toward the latter part of August, after the 20th, for updates and details. Plans are being made for multiple scenarios, but nothing will be implemented without the direction of Dr. Henry, Public Health, and the Minister of Education, and their decisions will be based on science and the situation at that time. I did attend numerous VISTA, Vancouver Island School Trustees Association, and BCSTA, British Columbia School Trustee Association virtual board chair meetings to check in and share what we were all experiencing and how each district was approaching the very same challenges. These were valuable meetings which continually confirmed that the approach and course that our senior staff had charted was the right one for our district and for these times. I cannot stress enough how many times our senior staff was publicly acknowledged, and I was personally thanked by other board chairs for the assistance our staff had given them in addressing the very same issues and problems we had addressed and solved. So often I was told how wonderful it was that all of the senior staff, really in all districts, work so closely together in truly coordinated manner at this time. The plan going forward for board chairs is to be available this summer to meet if and as needed. This is simply far too much, there is simply far too much uncertainty going forward for it to be a summer as usual. All the staff are extremely tired this year, more so than in recent memory. They have put in an incredible number of hours, given up time with their families, and have more than earned a rest. So there is no formal board meeting scheduled at this time in order to allow senior staff time for family, rest, and recharging. I would, however, advise trustees to check your email from time to time, as you will be contacted should something arise that requires our attention. School may end for summer holidays, but governance of the system does not. In conclusion, I wanted to once again thank each and every one of our teachers and all of our support staff, custodians, maintenance, and grounds people who stepped up to face the challenges, concerns, and greatly increased workload that the last 4 months has placed upon them. Our staff have approached the pandemic in a positive, innovative, and problem-solving manner. They were resilient and agile, pivoting with every new challenge and change that was tossed at them. Thank you to the local CDTA President Sherry Dietrich and CUPE President Denise Bullock for their ongoing advocacy for their members and participation in a strong active support of our students as we transition through 4 of the 5 stages of response to the continuity of learning that the government identified and set out. Finally, thank you to all of our students who, in the face of this unprecedented global event, demonstrated how incredibly resilient, adaptable, and creative they truly are, and so rarely given credit for by so many, many adults. You, most of all, deserve a wonderful, fun-filled summer. Enjoy it, and we shall be here in September to warmly welcome you back to your educational journey and to work for your success in the face of whatever we all have to encounter. Remember, be kind, be calm, be safe, and have a truly wonderful summer. You've certainly earned it. And that is my board chair's report.
There's a question.
Michelle? You're on mute.
I'm trying.
Okay.
I can't do it from my end. Oh,
Go. How's that?
there we go.
Okay. Thank you, Chair Hargreaves, for your report. I apologize if I missed it, but I don't believe that we started our meeting with the territorial greeting and acknowledgement.
Yes, we did. You did miss it.
I did miss it. Wow.
Yes.
We missed, I gapped. Okay, I apologize. I just wanted to make sure that if we hadn't
No,
done it,
it was done,
we
and I did it at the beginning. Thank you. Trustee McDonald.
So since you're quoting from Dr. Henry, I'm just wondering if you're also wearing pink shoes. I'd be interested in knowing that, Ian. But
Oh, my shoes can never match Dr. Henry's, ever.
no. Okay. The whole question about not meeting in the summer, and I thought, I remember us having to actually make motions to say that we wouldn't meet in the summer. And I am concerned that we're not going to have, that lots of things will happen. So if we're not going to have an official board meeting, could we have a meeting at the end of August as staff come back? And because waiting until a meeting, I think it's a late start this year, and then we're looking at a board meeting towards the end of September. It's a very long time for us as the governors not to be informed or to be making any of the decisions around this. So I would,
As I said, for the sake of our staff, I don't plan any specific board meeting for them to attend. After the August 20th, we will have an opportunity to discuss whatever the plans may be. But until August 20th, there will be none.
so Ian,
Yes.
I I care about our staff as much as you do, and I appreciate that. But you are our chair, and you are there to facilitate the meetings and the deliberations of the trustees, not to make unilateral decisions. So I hope you'll reflect on that over the summer. Thank you.
And as I said, Trustee McDonald, to check your email, I'm sure that there will be something there for you. Anyone else? Trustee Waite.
Yeah, sorry, I also need to weigh in on that. This is an exceptional year. We made a decision early on that we would suspend our committees, and then we brought them back in. It felt with some protest on the impact to staff, and it doesn't, and I believe that the committee meetings were limited and warranted, the ones that took place. And I believe that having a placeholder for a meeting is helpful rather than trying to scramble to pull a meeting together. And I'm not sure in terms of staff, the amount of time and difficulty it would be to actually pull a meeting together, likely on the sole issue of some sort of COVID related decision making that either we're being directed by the ministry to support or that the district is being required to roll out. So I'm not sure how it impacts staff, like plural, if the board needs to have a meeting, because really the people that need to attend the meeting of the Board of Education are the trustees, the secretary treasurer, and the superintendent. So,
Yeah.
and not to minimize the work that they've done, but I think that it would be prudent to have an opportunity to have a discussion about putting a placeholder date in for a meeting. Thank you.
After the 21st of August is a perfect time. Up until then, there will be nothing directive from the government that we are aware of. If something comes up before then, I will advise you that we have to have a meeting. I will be in contact with the superintendent and the secretary treasurer, and the meeting will be called. But up until the 20th of August, they've made it very clear there will be no decisions made, but there will be an announcement from the government on August 20th. They've already indicated that. We've already set a Vista board chairs meeting for August 21st to respond to that from the government. And I would see us having a board meeting after that as well. So I see there being a more board meeting before the end of the summer. I see there being a board meeting before September. I don't see that there's any way to say exactly when, because we may have one in July. There may be something come up then. It's that uncertain a situation at this point, and I want to give the staff and our trustees time as well to enjoy a rest. Well needed and deserved. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no further questions, thank you. I will move then to, there are no presentations or delegations. The Education Committee did not meet this term. And the next is strategic direction, and I turn it over to our superintendent.
Thank you. I just want to bring trustees up to date and sort of lots of the things that have gone on. I'm going to start with having our Director of Instruction, Mr. Douglas, give us a quick overview of how's it gone in June. We've opened our doors to elementary students back, and it's been wonderful to see. And I've just asked Director Douglas to give us just a brief overview of what it's looking like for our numbers and how things have gone to date. So Director Douglas, if you could.
Thank you very much, Tom. So we have about 50% of our kids in elementary school back. Some schools a little higher, some a little lower. The reports that we have, and certainly the schools I've been in, I see happy kids, really glad to be back at school, getting back into their normal routines. Remember, the children were divided into two groups. So some children come Monday and Tuesday, some come Thursday and Friday. The teachers are maintaining their online learning on Wednesday, and our students needing extra support or our essential workers come all 5 days. So everybody's working together to make this work. We see that many schools are offering lots of outdoor time. So the weather's been nice that they can get outside as much as possible. It's been a great opportunity for the schools to practice all the health and safety protocols, all the signage that's in the schools, all the routines about coming in, leaving, parents picking up. So essentially, when I talk to kids in schools, they say to me, this has just been the greatest thing coming back to school. And so it's been wonderful. Schools have been figuring out how to get supplies and materials back to children who didn't come back to school. So they're working on that and have been this week. And of course, the great lost and found. So at the end of the year, there's always all of this stuff that nobody's laid claim to throughout the year. They've been trying to get all of that stuff back to as many kids as they possibly can. So that's sort of what's been happening in our elementary schools. I should say also, if I could, that the before and after school childcare have opened in a number of our schools. Parents have been very delighted. So for a lot of them, it feels like it's like business as usual, and it feels good. But as I say, 50%, sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more. So just the right amount to test things out and see how things are going.
Okay. Thank you. And I'm going to ask our assistant superintendent, Mr. Manning, to give us a brief update of our secondary situation.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Secondary might have been a little bit more complicated than elementary in the sense that there were, 20% participation or coming back to face, but, having to face graduation, as Chair Hargreaves alluded to, there was a lot of work put into that and rerouting those plans. And there was a lot of work put in by teachers going from face to almost entirely online for the whole go, really. I think our teachers did an outstanding job, and we built a lot of capacity at secondary. We had reports from some schools where they had in-staff training, where they were training all their staff on new platforms using Canvas, preparing for what lies ahead in the fall. I think the reality for secondary in the fall is a little different than it is for elementary. We feel fairly strongly that we're going to be coming back to some form of blended learning in the fall. And so teachers are really trying to prepare for that. And with that in mind, the superintendent made a decision to have school end roughly June 14th so that staffs could meet together and start making plans and preparing for that eventuality in the fall. And we feel like they've done a really good job meeting with their staff, all three high schools, making those plans. In terms of what happened this semester, it was a little bit harder for them too from an assessment standpoint. We had a policy where we did not want to punish any students for this COVID learning environment, but yet we were trying to help make students accountable for what they needed to know and what they needed to learn. So it was a bit more of a balancing act at secondary in terms of that. But I think all three high schools did a good job of making that eventually happen. And I know many of us were at some of the grad ceremonies on the weekend, and the overwhelmingly positive comments that we heard from teachers and from parents about how much they appreciated the hard work and the extra effort, especially when it comes to our grade 12s. I think we did a really great job with our grade 12s, making sure they were going to get through and graduate and pass their courses, right from the technology rollout that Josh helped initiate through all the other programs that the teachers were working hard on. So a positive report when you really think about how incredible, the incredible amount of change that happened when this pandemic came upon us. So I think mostly good news, and we're still working hard to make sure we have a good start up in the fall.
Thank you. along with that, the other nice part in June normally is a chance to recognize accomplishments throughout the year. And we were able to do that at our grad ceremonies, which I know most of you were able to attend. And I did send you a link today, or 3 links for the video grad ceremonies from all 3 schools with some surprises in there. It's worth watching. Please take some time and have a look at it. It's quite a lot of work, and thanks to Fox and B who produced those and recorded those, and through our communications manager, Mary, for setting that up and working with those schools. So those ceremonies are really nice, and students, of course, had viewing parties throughout the weekend with those. And our last graduation ceremony is this week, which is Glacier View, and it's one that I know a lot of us like to attend, but they're a victim of their success. What started out as a small graduating class is growing daily. I think they increased by another couple today, and trying to limit the number of people in the location. It's really hard. We're working to see if we can somehow maybe squeeze people at a distance to see some of this. They're doing a unique ceremony. None of the senior staff will be there just because of the space requirements that they need. But I know our assistant superintendent has been in contact with the principal to see if there's some way we can possibly arrange to have some trustees see it, because I know it's a nice event and always has been. But they've worked really hard there to get their graduation kids the numbers up, and it seems to be to be working. Yesterday was another first for our district, where we actually took the retirement recognition ceremony on the road, and we actually made some home visits. And I know, again, many of you were either on the bus that was captained by our director, Mr. Douglas, that took a little bit longer than the bus which was captained by our former employee, Steve Knight. Sorry, Director Douglas, I didn't mean to comment on your ability to maneuver that bus in a hairpin turn on Ham Road, but it was a very nice event. It was really nice to get out and see people, and I know Mary has put together a nice little video of the photos and all the comments, and we received lots of notes of thanks today from the people who are receiving their gifts and their little visit, and their yard sign, courtesy of the senior staff and trustees. So thank you for those who participated. It was a neat way of doing it, and something to think about moving forward. You know, sometimes out of situations like this, new traditions begin, and we're always looking. So that was a real nice event, which leads us to what is next? Well, going into summer is a good thing. I think everyone is hit the wall and has worked really hard this year to get us to this point. It's been a challenging year for everyone, and I'm so proud of each and every one of our employees for what they've done, and for the students and their families. Their families were active in their learning journey this year, and it wasn't a choice. It was the 17th of March hit, and I was just looking back at reading some of the letters I had sent to families. You know, boom, here it is. Thank you very much. We're not going to school anymore. School will be delivered at home. Here's how it's going to work. And to see where we've progressed from that point, which leads us, where do we go in the fall? And as was pointed out, the fall will be interesting, because the ministry has indicated to us that they don't expect to make any major announcements until mid to late August, anywhere the 16th to 20th, somewhere in there. At this point is what we're being told. But here's what we do know. When you look at the 5 stages, stage 1 being return to normal, if I can use that term, face-to-face, 5 days a week, everything's there. We know how to do that. Stage 5, which is complete closure, nothing is happening, it's suspending all learning. We've done that. We've also done stage 4, which was limited for ESW and vulnerable students. We are currently doing stage 3, and it's been a short time, but we're doing stage 3. The only stage that's really left for us is stage 2. when we look at the spectrum. Now, what is stage 2? Stage 2 is K to 7, 5 days a week, and 8 to 12, approximately 2 days or 40%. When we look at what stage 1 is for our elementary, it's the same thing, 5 days a week. So really the leap for our elementary is to go back to some form of a full-time programming. And our secondary, it's moving from what we're currently seeing as a 20% to possibly a 40 or 50%. Those are the things that we're looking at now. What does that look like? Our schools have been having conversations with their staff around how do we make this happen? How do we offer an elective courses at a 40% contact rate at secondary? What will it look like if all of a sudden we start out at a stage 2 and then have to come back? So these are the conversations that are occurring. Unfortunately, I would love to be able to sit here and provide clear, definite direction for our district and our families saying, this is where we will be, but we don't have that information. We have to wait until the ministry and the provincial health officer give us direction. Right now, we're planning for the stage 2. We would love to be in stage 1, and I think a lot will depend on what happens this summer as we see the numbers fluctuate with it. Along with the education side of it, our operations department is working hard, knowing that anytime we move stages, our procedures around cleaning and our care change as well. So they have to be flexible and the ability to adapt. So that's going on behind the scenes. So although it's the end of one year and definitely an eventful year it was, it's also the beginning of the next stage and what will be happening in the fall. So we'll be communicating with families this week and sending out sort of a summary letter of this year. And we're asking everyone to just, visit our website. We will keep that up to date all summer long in terms of the latest information. And as soon as we have clarity, we'll be sharing that with our community because they've been very patient and cooperative working with us as we're moving forward. So I think it's really important that we include them. So as much as we love to say, here's where we'll be in September, right now it's a bit of a guessing game, but this is what we think. This is what we're anticipating. So that's the fall. The other part of the fall that the big question is around international students. What will happen? We're currently working and we're waiting for some word from the ministry around can international students begin their program in their home countries on a distributed learning and then be able to return to their communities or to our community in this case after say semester 1. What will that look like? So we're currently working with the ministry and we're waiting to see what happens around our international numbers and how that comes out. All in all, it has been a very interesting year. It's had some challenges, but with every challenge comes opportunities. I know that the teaching staff have worked extremely hard. I know the custodial staff, the maintenance staff, everyone in our system. There's not one area I can say I've watched different areas of people stepping up, accepting this challenge that we were faced with, and doing it for kids. No matter where individuals worked in our organization, they were all focused on our students, and I'm so very, very proud of each and every one of them. And I just want to thank all of them for their hard work and dedication, as well as you as trustees for your support as we work through this interesting time. So that's my report.
Thank you very much, Superintendent. Trustee McDonald, question.
Yeah, thanks. So we covered a lot of ground there. First, as the liaison trustee for Glacier View, I just want to put in a little plug to say that since they are growing at this pace, and I'm sure you've heard this, additional staffing, teachers, counseling, and EAs, Murray is always looking, and they usually gets it, but after the point at which they needed it. So keep it in mind. I'd be interested in a little info about the busing and how that worked. Did most parents pick up on the driving? Were we required to do two runs to the same school, things like that? And the other, in the planning, as we go towards looking at what stage 2 or 1 might look like as we get back to it, seems to me this is another ideal opportunity to look at a 4-day week for our district, because I do believe that people will have learned the pleasures of more family time and a little less time on the bus and more time at home. So please do consider that in any of your discussions and your research that you do with parents, the feedback. There are many, of course, from the examples where it exists, and it is a good fit with blended learning as well. But it might be another piece of what changes in the structure of learning in our district in a very positive way.
Thank you. And I'll ask Director Hesselgrave if he could maybe give us some information about the busing.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Yeah, the busing was an interesting go for us. And in this go around, with the appropriate social distancing rules, we were at half capacity on our buses. And given that our elementary runs were at about 40% and our high school runs in and around 20, we had no issues with the bus in June, which was a massive relief. There was some concern that we were going to be limited to 12 kids on a bus, and then that would have caused a real problem. We would have been looping. And so I think the issue for the fall is the unknowns. And there's a couple of big ones. As the superintendent mentioned, we don't know what the return is going to look like. So we don't know if we'll be bringing all elementary school kids back. And if we are at some of those elementary schools that are using a significant amount of busing, if the rules for social distancing have changed for the kids at school, will it change on the buses as well? And that's the big question, for us, is we're just really not sure. So I'm looking at the options. I've had some national conversations with First Student, but I share the concerns. The last thing we want to do is loop a bus. That just seems like a tremendous waste.
Thank you. I believe Trustee Caton had a question.
Okay. Anyone else put your hand up? No, you're fine, Janice. Anyone else put your hand up? Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Janice.
So my computer has been in and out, so this might have already been repeated. I'm sorry, but you guys keep freezing on me. So I'm repeating this. I apologize. I had the opportunity to attend the ISFIL grad, and I have to say kudos off to all senior staff and all our teachers and all our employees. It was an amazing afternoon. Everyone was happy, and despite the new venue, I think it went very well. But a couple of questions and concerns I have, and it's probably leading up to the fall, and that is, one is the ministry is not going to have back to school as mandatory, where we go back to a blended learning, where we have classroom and online, and teachers are already talking now about how stressful it's been doing both. I am concerned about the fall, and what we're going to look at is how we support our teaching staff and our keeping and doing a new way of learning, possibly for a longer period of time. It's great for a couple of months, but this could last longer. So those are one of the concerns that I am concerned about. But the biggest one I know our district was a pilot program for the Pathway to Hope and mental health on students, and the mental health of our families and our students coming forward for the next little while. Education through a pandemic is going to be forefront, I think. The anxiety level of many of our families and our students, the unknowns, like until there's a vaccine or this is going away, that COVID-19 is going to be in the back minds of many people. Parents have said they're not sending their kids to school no matter what. So I think these are the conversations we're going to be having as on. But to me, it's the mental health. And I'm wondering if the ministry we won't know till August the 20th what school is going to look, and I get that. But is the ministry already talking about plans in place to support staff, teachers, principals, the superintendents, the education community in dealing with the mental health, the anxiety, and the extra workload and the stuff? Has that been part of the conversation the superintendents have been having with the ministry, how we're going to support our communities, our families? And if not, what can we do maybe as a board through our governance model to advocate for that support? Because I think we're going to need it.
thank you for this. What I can tell you, that topic comes up, and it's being recognized as the need to focus some resources on it. Locally, I can tell you right now, we are in the process of hiring people for the Pathways to Hope program. We've identified we will have 3 areas or 3 streams or offices, I guess I can say, around Pathways. And our director of student services, Esther Schatz, has been working on that and will continue to work on that throughout the summer. We're hoping, Director Schatz, when do we hope to have the hiring completed for that personnel?
Probably sometime in August with a start date of October 1st.
So we should be up and running for next year to have that whole Pathways program up and running, which will be some excellent support for our community moving forward into next year.
Any other questions?
Could I just add on that point? I don't know if other trustees are aware that the Comox Valley was granted a foundry, funding for a foundry under the John Howard as the lead agency. I'm sure that Esther was also very involved in planning and things around that. So that was good news. That ties in with the Pathways to Hope as a big step forward for our valley.
Thank you, Trustee McDonald. Anyone else? Any other questions for the superintendent? Seeing none, I'll move now to the assistant superintendent and school fees briefing note.
Okay, you'll notice on page 9 of your board package, you have school fees briefing note. This falls under a requirement of the School Act to for boards to pass the school fees for the upcoming school year. They're pretty standard across the board, and all of them include a hardship issue or hardship issues where each school has a policy for those students who may not be able to pay school fees, that those fees will be paid for them through the hardship fund. So if there are any questions about that, I'm happy to field them.
I don't see any, Jeff. Assistant Superintendent Manning. So the recommendation is that the Board of Education approve the attached school fees schedules for 2020-2021 school year. Can I have a mover? Thank you, Sarah Jane, Trustee Howe, and seconded Trustee Frowley. Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Next, BA courses.
We have a couple of BAs presented from ISFELD, board authorized courses. It's for Sports Performance 11 and Sports Performance 12. They are outlined on page 18 and 19 of your board package. And then they're very detailed. These courses come about basically through student interest, a massive amount of student interest at ISFELD for these courses. The numbers indicate that both of these would be full with a wait list pending at that school. So we are recommending that the board agree to these 2 new courses being offered at ISFELD. Are there any questions about those? Okay.
Excellent. So seeing none, that the Board of Education approve the BA courses as provided. Mover, please. Thank you, Trustee Howe. Seconder. Thank you, Trustee Hawksby. Anyone against? Hearing none, it passes. On to Secretary Treasurer again. Financial update, please.
Thank you. So the first item under my section is the financial update. So just again, since February, since the amended budget is approved, we start doing operating fund projections. So the projection that's included in the board package is as of May 31st. And also included in the package is the capital fund update, also as of May 31st. So this is the last report that the board will receive. We are a week, 2 weeks away from year end. But these are the 2 reports that we provide to the board monthly for the last half of the year. So we're happy to answer any questions. And if not, the information is provided as information for the board.
Questions? Okay, seeing none, on to capital funding update.
There is a motion that the board receive the financial update. Yeah, for May
Okay.
31st. Yep, sorry, Ian.
That's all right, that the Board of Education received this financial update from May 31st, 2020 as provided. Do I have a mover?
Tanya Frawley.
Thank you very much. Seconded, Trustee Caton. Anyone opposed?
Sorry, I
I
have
think Trustee Wade has a
clarification.
question. Yep.
So
Clarification?
I just wanted to make, are we just talking about the, sorry, you should see my office full of paper. Are we just talking about the operating fund projection May 31st in this recommendation, or are we talking also about the capital fund update?
It's the financial update, which includes both reports.
Okay, so then I do have a question on the capital fund update.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. When I was reviewing the document, I noted the facility reserve budget of 2.4 million. And I just wanted to make sure that I understand. My recollection is in November, we allocated that 2.4 million to expenses connected to the boundary catchment review, but that's all we approved any spending in that 2.4 million to be. And I just want to make sure that I understand that that my understanding is correct. Through the chair to the secretary treasurer.
Thank you. Candace, do you mind answering that question? Sorry, I was distracted.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Not at all. Yes, so the board's facility reserve plan within local capital fund was established as and approved at the November board meeting to cover any various costs that were associated with the boundary consultation. There are some specific items, I don't have a list with me at home right now, that were approved as part of the recommendations, and the funds have been set aside for specific accounts for those purposes. But for this reporting purpose, we just show the entire facility reserve. So there are costs being expended and commitments made towards this account already, but this expenditure report does not show the current purchase orders outstanding. I hope that answers your question.
And just to follow up, that makes perfect sense. I just wanted to make sure that my understanding is that based on the decisions that the board made, that 2.4 million will not be exhausted because the costs that we were provided in terms of the decision making that the board made regarding the costs associated with the boundary consultation changes would not be using that entire 2.4 million.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted that clarified, mostly for myself. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay, so we're back to the recommendation. Anyone opposed to the recommendation? It has been moved and seconded. No one opposed? It passes. 2021-2022 5-year capital plan.
Thanks, Chair. I will turn this item over to our Director of Operations, who has prepared a briefing note and summarized the capital plan submission for the board.
Okay, thank you. This super exciting briefing note for me anyways, page 24 of your board package. It is the standard submission to the Ministry of Education for capital planning for the next 5 years. And the attempt in this is to adequately project what the key items are that we need to deal with within the district for minor and major capital. And I think the boundary adjustment process informed this decision making quite well. So if you see in here, some of the key items include an expansion for Royston Elementary, an expansion for Cumberland Elementary, and we saw that and heard that loud and clear in those communities that there's an exceptional amount of pressure on those schools. By the end of this summer, we're going to have 4 modulars and an outside washroom block at Royston, and Cumberland will have 1 additional modular. So there is significant pressure there. It also looks at seismic projects that are upcoming, and we've had Courtney L. Seismic on the list for a while, and I think we're logically in the queue for that to happen next. It seems the ministry staggers this work according to the ability really for districts to manage it and equitable distribution. So that's in there. The other thing, the other projects are mostly on what we would consider on the minor capital, so school enhancement and CNCP or carbon neutral work. Continuing the plan of trying to make the hits where we get the most value. And for us under the carbon neutral plan, that's get rid of old boiler systems. We can reduce greenhouse gas consumptions by 50% at a school by replacing the heating system. So that's always going to be on there. And the other thing, I think under school enhancement, just to highlight the 3 projects, number 1 is roof replacement for Marquisfeld. It's a huge roof because that school is a 1-story sprawling school. $1.5 million worth of roof there, so we want the ministry to pay for that. The other thing in there is Arden Fire Sprinkler System. It's the last school of ours that's on Vancouver Island proper that doesn't have a fire sprinkler. We're putting one into Cumberland right now, so that's a high priority. And then the third project on there, Glacier View Alternate School Mechanical Upgrade. I want to highlight this one because it's exciting. That's the only school on the island proper here that's heated electrically. So we don't have a natural gas boiler system there. The existing heating system was put in 1996, and the intent with this project, and I've been working closely with the mechanical engineer, is what I want to do is do a large PV solar array on the roof, change all the lighting inside the school so that it's hyper efficient LED lighting, and change the controls on all the electrical panels that are associated with this, because they're typically in electrical panels on off, and we want to get away from that to having proportional control, which means that as your heating spaces, the electricity to those heaters gradually comes on and off in a percentage way so that you don't overshoot and waste electricity. And I think, we've ground out the numbers. I think there's a 9-year payback on this. And at the 9-year mark, we could even shift into the good. It's a great opportunity to try a project like this, and really hoping that the ministry will support us. And I think it really supports the Board of Education's core values and goals, particularly around sustainability. So pretty excited about that. It was something we've been working on this spring, and I have a beautiful 30-page report should anyone be excited to read that about Glacier View. So that is all I have for this capital plan submission, and if there's any questions, happy to answer.
I don't see anyone indicating that they have a question, Director Hasselgrave. So I need a mover that the Board of Education approve the 2021-2022 5-year capital plan submission as provided. A question or okay, thank you very much, Trustee Waite. She moves it, seconded.
Tanya Frawley.
Thank you very much. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, it passes. On to Trustee Frawley, retirements and recognition, please.
Okay, sorry. Oh, my screen just went nuts. Let's just try this again. I apologize. Where did it go? I'm so sorry. My screen just went blank. We're having a lot of technical stuff tonight. Okay. Try this again.
We can see you.
I am unmuted, correct?
Yeah, and we can see you.
Okay. Okay, it's just about there again. There we go. Okay. So our retirements, we have Ellen Parrish, teacher, Hughband Park Elementary School, will retire effective June 30th, 2020 after 28 years of service with the district. Barbara Robertson, principal, Valley View Elementary School, will retire effective August 31st, 2020 after 24 years of service with the district. Colin Tinga, teacher at Highland Secondary School, will retire effective June 30th, 2020 after 28 years of service with the district. Jan
Sherman.
Sherman, thank you. Teacher, Aspen Park Elementary School, will retire effective June 30th, 2020 after 30 years of service with the district. Keith Keller, teacher, Mark R. Isfeld Secondary School, will retire effective June 30th, 2020 after 20 years of service with the district. Linda Hillhorst, education assistant of Mark R. Isfeld Secondary School, will retire effective August 31st, 2020 after 28 years of service with the district. And Linda Krowich, senior custodian, Hughband Park Elementary School, will retire effective August 31st, 2020 after 30 years of service with the district. And that is it. Does not. Normally I move that, don't I?
Yes, please.
Yes, I'll move to.
That the Board of Education receive the retirements and recognition report as provided.
Thank you, Ian. It's not on the bottom of my page.
Not a problem.
Oh, thank you.
And do I have a seconder? Thank you, Trustee Howe. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, it passes. On to board standing committee reports. Finance Audit Committee Board Report. This is for us to receive. Anything else? Nicole? Secretary Treasurer?
Nope, sorry, this goes over to the chair of the audit committee, Trustee Frawley.
Excellent.
Yes, so we met via Zoom or Teams last week or the week before, June 16th. And it all went smoothly. They are going to miss our district, I think, when they're done with us. I think they really like us. And so I would like to ask that the Board of Education receive this report for information.
You're muted, Chair.
No, I'm not muted.
No, the
No.
chair.
I did because I just read your recommendation again, that the Board of Education receive the Financial Audit Committee Board Report as provided. And that was moved by Trustee Frawley and seconded by
Caton.
Trustee Caton. Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes. Okay, the Facilities Committee Board Report. Facilities Committee met on June 9th and discussed in particular the technology department and the information that we received previous. And the board recommendation is that the Board of Education of School District number 71 approve the purchase and installation of a modular for the Information Technology Department. Do I have a mover? And then we can discuss it, question it. Anything else?
I'll move that.
Thank you.
Trustee-
Second, Trustee Frowley moved, seconded.
Trustee Howe,
Thank you. All right, any questions, discussion about it? Hearing none. Anyone opposed to the purchase and installation? Oh, question from Trustee McDonald. Yes, please.
No, I'm voting in opposition.
Oh,
I have no
okay.
questions. I just don't at this
So-
time support it.
That's okay. Sorry, you don't know about it, or you? Do we need to?
I don't support it. You
Oh,
called for
okay.
a vote. I'm voting no.
Okay,
It
That's
doesn't
fine.
reach the unanimous.
so anyone else opposed? Seeing and hearing none, it passes. The next one is that the Board of Education receive the Facilities Committee Board Report as provided. So moved by Trustee Howe, seconded by,
Trustee Frawley?
thank you very much. Anyone opposed to receiving the report? Hearing none, that passes as well.
there's a question.
Oh, there's a question, sorry.
Trustee McDonald?
I
Yes,
have a question relating to the facilities report. I think this is where it would be, and that is about the environmental review that was being done of our properties. And I think some of them may have already been, some properties have been, and I'm just wondering about the timing of a report going to the facilities committee and whether we will hear from that. And I am wondering if the facilities committee has a review of the Vanier, the remaining Vanier Oak Grove property on its agenda.
I have nothing come forward to the committee for either of those items at this point. I don't know where the environmental review is. I'll see.
We can update you. Director Hasselgrave, do you have an update on that for us?
Good.
I can update on the environmental review, but not on the second portion of the Vanier property. But in terms of the environmental review, I actually do a monthly check-in with Current Environmental that is presently running the process. And there won't be any report coming forward until 1 year has gone through, because we agreed that it was important to conduct review in each of the seasons within each of the school properties, so that we could be aware of all the existing conditions and how it's affected by the climate of the season. So the report will come out in there'll be a tremendous amount of information that comes forward. So we're probably looking at another solid 6 months before we have that report. But what I can do for September is I can put together a written update on where we are, and with a little more detail if required for the facilities committee. Absolutely.
Okay, Trustee McDonald.
Well, yeah, thanks, Ian. It is quite a big task. Just sort of a supplemental thing. Wondering about. Well, I guess this may come at the end of that process, but whether we are developing a process for applications for use of school board property, because I noticed a considerable number of cars parked at the other day at the what's that disc golf course at Lake Trail, and of course that just sort of happened without any kind of process, and I'm wondering how and in a very sensitive habitat. So seeing a fair amount of recreational use at that site, that I'm very anxious that we get our ducks in a row around our sensitive habitats and how we're managing them.
definitely. There'll be quite a series of deliverables, I believe, out of those reports. And for the Lake Trail Disc Golf, it is incredibly popular. And I know that what we did is when the concern was raised, we had an independent environmental assessment done, and we've closed off a number of areas of the course that were, I would say, in blatant disregard of the sensitive habitat. So that part has been closed off, and there's a bunch of work that will be done there, but we're waiting for the fulsome report to complete that work. But that course certainly has been cut off.
Any other questions? Okay, that last recommendation did pass. So now it is on to the Policy Committee Board Report, and Chair Waite.
Thank you. So you'll find in the meeting package, our meeting minutes from May the 25th. And I would like to share at this time and just refresh everybody's memories that at the November Policy Committee meeting, we made a recommendation to the board to develop a policy regarding non-discrimination. We currently have an administrative procedure on that, and the committee brought that item forward to the board, and I believe it was at the November board meeting that the board did approve moving towards a policy. The committee has spent some time working on it. The pandemic has, I would say, distracted us greatly on that matter, and I'm looking forward to the committee, or maybe even having a discussion here on what the board might like us to do in terms of more of the research, or leave it to the committee for us to work on something to bring back to the board.
Any response?
I have a
Trustee Caton?
Okay, so I must apologize. My computer has been acting up horribly tonight, so you guys freeze in and out, and if I lose you, I do apologize. But I'm wondering, and I know that our board was proactive regarding having conversation on racism and discrimination prior to all the news media that's going on right now happening, but is there any preclude in us including students and parents in having a broader conversation as we move forward on a policy? I don't believe that we've ever discussed that, but I would like us as we move forward to include students and parents and other members of the community in a broader discussion on racism, discrimination, and other concerns in our district. I'm wondering if we need board approval of that one, or if the policy go ahead and just do it on our own committee. I'll leave that to you, Michelle, as chair of the policy committee, to fine tune that one, or do we need a board approval?
I don't know the answer to that question. When the board tasked us with creating a draft policy, I don't believe that they provided parameters. They just supported our recommendation.
So maybe through superintendent or chair, do we need a motion from the board to include others in that discussion, or we have the parameters of our own and inviting other members of the community to have that conversation with us?
I don't think we need to have direction on that. I think that's something we can do. I think one of the things the board has done in the past, it's always, we can deal with this however the board wishes, but once a draft policy or some draft parameters are created, they are sent out to our partner groups, and we can send it out to our system as a whole for some feedback around that, and get some input and get that information, collect that, and help that utilized in forming the new policy, and that can happen. So we don't need a specific motion. We can go ahead and the policy committee can draft a process around that.
Trustee McDonald?
Oh, I just like to speak in favor of having some kind of engagement with our students, with the parents, the community. I think that this development of this policy could be a really valuable learning opportunity in this, to hear from some of our various stakeholders about their experiences in the Valley would really help us all make sure that we really get the right tone and the right empowerment in the policy, that it makes a really strong statement. So obviously not the time right now, but we've had some success in doing that with our community engagement that we did with parents and students. And I remember an event at Lake Trail, quite a long time ago that was done, and listening to kids talk about the types of names that they were called, pejorative nicknames by people saying, "Oh, well, we're friends," but actually things that were quite hurtful. We need to understand. We need to put the experiences to the words on the paper in the policy, and for us to really understand in our hearts how this is significant. So I do have confidence in the committee working with the superintendent to come up with a plan for us, but I'm definitely going to be arguing and to expect that it'll include the engagement with our stakeholders and the public, so that we build it needs to be more than a policy. It needs to be how we do things, really embedded in our organization. We've got a lot to learn on that. So I appreciate your work, and thanks for the update on that.
Great.
So then I'll be recommending that the board, can I do this? Do I do this? That the Board of Education receive the policy committee board report as provided?
Okay, so you can move that. Do you have and we have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Trustee Caton. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that passes. Board business. 2020-2021 board meeting schedule. It is page 74 in our package. I hope everyone has had a chance to take a look at it. I didn't see any major conflicts there going through. So any questions about it?
I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm not sure, and my question would be based on the Ministry of Education not giving an update to August 20th on what the school year is going to look like. I'm wondering, are we going to be scheduling a board meeting once the ministry has made their announcement to the format district are, so that board can have a conversation and we can have a public meeting with the public? I hate to not have anything between now and the end of September with all the unknowns. And yes, traditionally we don't have a board meeting in July and in August, but we're in unprecedented times right now. And when I looked at that, I didn't see it on there, and I'm just wondering why a August board meeting wasn't scheduled based on the times we are currently in, and maybe as a placeholder just in case, because we will get some directions from the ministry come August as to what's happening in September, and a board meeting would be a really good time for us to have the community conversation amongst ourselves and that as to what next. So that would be my question. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Trustee Caton. Because your computer was cutting in and out, you've missed the conversation about that. There is going to be a board meeting before the end of September. There will be one after the announcement by the government is made, as that there's nothing else to be decided before that time or even discussed before that time. So as you're aware, having attended the VISTA board chairs meeting, that VISTA is going to have a board chairs meeting on August 21st. So we most certainly will have a board meeting after that.
So my question is, why is it not on that there? Why did you put it off there?
Because we did not have that date at the time that was made.
Okay, so can that include the date, or is that a possibility? I'm sorry. I'm just
again,
Sarah,
until
do you want me to speak to it?
Yes, please.
Yeah, sorry. So Janice, this is just per our board policy. This is just setting up the regular board meetings that usually occur during the school year. We at any time can set up a board meeting. We could have 2 board meetings in 1 month if we want to. We can have a board meeting in July or August. It just wasn't included on the schedule because this is our regular board meeting schedule, and we can certainly set a board meeting for August at any time. So it wasn't included because we didn't have the information at the time that the board package went out. Yeah.
So my question is, would it be inappropriate for us to include an August board meeting on this schedule so that we've got that date? So that it's, and when we leave today, that we've got that set, the public knows, we know, and we can change that if we need to in August? Is that something that would be of consideration, just so we've all got a place date or hold? Because August is, you know, the week before school, vacation, holidays, so we need to have that date set. So that my question is, would it be inappropriate for us to place holder a date for that on the committee now? I'm just asking the question.
Oh, yeah, it's, if the question is directed at me, absolutely. We can just amend the board meeting schedule and approve the schedule as amended.
Okay, so I like to make a motion to to make a motion to.
Go ahead, discuss.
Thank you. A couple of times I've heard mention of the Vista board chairs having a meeting, and I'm going to say that's great, but they don't run our board. We do. We are the Board of Education elected for the Comox Valley School District, and they don't control what we do. And so I want to thank Trustee Caton for raising August 25th, because that was why I had my hand raised, is because I wanted to amend this. We can, I'm still baffled as the rationale of why we wouldn't have set a date, but now there's a motion on the floor, or an amendment on the floor, and I'm going to speak in favor of it. Thank you.
Again, the Vista was mentioned as a point that we are meeting on the 21st, because it was decided by the chairs at that point that there was nothing that they could make decision about, because it was nothing that had been presented to them by the government before the 20th. So they had bookmarked that date themselves already. We, as I said, can bookmark any date, no problem at all. 21st, 25th is fine, 26th is fine, 27th, whatever the board wants. That is fine. To meet before that without having that direction from the government, I'm not quite sure. I'm lost as to what it would benefit us to do when we don't know what we're doing, what the direction has been given. If there's something, absolutely. And we may meet in July yet. We may meet several times, July and August. It depends on what transpires over this period of time. Nothing else. Nothing else at all. So August 25th has been proposed. Is there any opposition to August 25th there being a public board meeting?
Can I just
Please.
Just comments, just kind of plain devil's advocate here. So I guess my concern is that we're hearing these dates, the possibilities of when the ministry is going to meet. And I'm hearing what Michelle's saying about Vista. That doesn't run our board. Totally agree. But we need to get all of those pieces together. And if we choose August 25th, as Janice is proposing, or Trustee Caton is proposing, and then we have to change it, we're just kind of doing the same thing anyways. Even though we have that placeholder, we're still changing it. So does it make sense to have a date until we actually know what date we kind of need to do this?
Can I respond to that?
Yeah.
So my understanding, the reason why I proposed August 25th, and right, the Secretary Treasurer is correct. We can change and we can amend a date with a 48-hour notice. That's an issue that we as a board can do. The reason I suggested that is because the Ministry of Education has multiple times publicly announced through their media request is that come August the 20th, they will have some sort of recommendation on what back to school will look like. So the date that I took that was the date that it's nothing to do with Vista. This is because the Ministry of Education has indicated through their communication that by August the 20th, they should have some sense of what September will look like. And that's why I suggested the 25th. And the chair is correct. Say come mid-July or August, it changes, we can absolutely amend it. But let's put a placeholder now based on the information the ministry has given us. By August the 20th, they will have some recommendation what school like September. We have our meeting and then we can go from there. So it's just letting the community and ourselves know that come August, we are going to sit down with the recommendation how school is going to look at, and as a board, how do we move forward on it? And that was basically why that date is a placeholder, and that was my recommendation. And we can, as the chair says, based on what the ministry does, amend that date. We've done in the past for various reasons based on that, but we've said to the community, we're going to meet and share the information with you when we know what's going on.
Absolutely. So anyone opposed to the date of the 25th as it is now, as a placeholder for a board meeting going into September? Hearing no oppositions, okay, we will have a board meeting on August 25th unless things change. We did pass that because no one was opposed. All right, on to trustee reports. Comox Valley Food Policy Council, Trustee McDonald. You're muted. It's okay, you're still muted. That's all right. We still see your lips moving,
Okay,
but we
I'm
don't know
muted.
what you're.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Good.
I was busy looking at the report. I just wanted to kind of share how much interesting work is being done. A great deal of it is connected with our mandate to continue to deliver supports for our vulnerable students. I really appreciate the work that Esther and others, the whole team have done to support that. I think there's, it is quite exciting, but and so much work done, and really fun to see the degree to which the home learning has included food security, families, students growing at home, the great sourdough bread making activities. So all of these things are really exciting. They move our the whole, food literacy moves awareness in the general public, huge steps forward, but also some real challenges that are about the fact that there still needs to be infrastructure. There still needs to be some access to facilities. We're doing lots of online learning and workshops, but I just put out a few of the things where processing foods or doing workshops towards the end of the summer and into the fall with families so that they can learn how to process and save their own food. And then the whole question of how are we going to do salad bars and hot lunches and things. Is there going to be a way to prepare salad bars and have them delivered to schools, food truck options, all kinds of things on the table? And I just wanted you to have a bit of a sense of that, and to join me in asking that our staff, who no doubt have a lot of stuff on their plate, but to recognize it's in our strategic plan and it's important, and that they really continue to collaborate and work as openly as possible. And part of it is around, because our schools, as we start to open up for our people, there is a benefit to also trying to figure out how to be able to make them available to responsible and committed community members. So that's the gist of it. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I have a question for Trustee McDonald, Chair Hargraves. Can I, maybe through
Please.
her
Yes,
superintendent,
please.
clarification. So I'm a bit confused on one of her statements in her letter, and maybe I'm reading it wrong. The Lake Trail Middle School garden is not being dismantled for a parking lot. Or like my understanding is that Lake School Garden is going to continue through the construction process. There's going to be a Lake School Garden, but when you read that, it reads something different. I don't think that's what Trustee McDonald intended. So just clarification, maybe through the superintendent or through our director of operations, is the Lake Trail Garden is not being dismantled. There'll be a Lake Trail Garden going forward, but it might be a little bit different. Am I correct in that assumption?
I'd ask Director Hargraves to speak to that.
Hasselgrave.
Hasselgrave.
Sorry, Hasselgrave.
No problem. Yes, the Lake Trail, the Lake Trail Garden it's been a challenge. Like we were able to keep it all through last year. And what's going to happen in the next week or so is moving about 10 feet of the Lake Trail Garden as they begin the civil works in the front. And so what the contractor has done is we have to move 6 4x8 boxes and 7 4x4 boxes. And so we built new ones. They've been placed closer to the school, and the fence is going to be moved a little bit, but the garden will stay active. And then next summer is when the school proper is being demolished. And so there's a plan this fall to meet with the garden committee, and we've been talking through the process around how we're going to have to move a bunch of things into pots to store over the course of the winter, because there won't be a spring plant next year, because when the building comes down, it's going to be a significant issue. But we've put aside the same amount of space for a school garden. It's just being oriented in a different direction, and it's going to be actually open to the foods room, so there can be a flow between that sort of foods room into the garden. And it is captured on the site plan that we have for the garden to remain.
So if I can speak, there's 2 points in that. When I say that it's going to be dismantled, it like, I don't think people appreciate exactly how great a little garden that is. And it's not just because I've been involved with it, but I'm not much there now, but it is, after 10 years, quite a mature garden. The soil development, the trees, all of it is pretty impressive. So it is in my heart to hope that instead of running the access to the parking lot right through the middle of it, that we'd use the old parking lot access and still there, because even though, as Ian says, there's a plan to move it and have adjacent to the school, its current location has such good year-round sun for growing that any way to have kept it would have been nice. So the plan and the new locations are not as good, and it is really heartbreaking to think of that. The other piece, Ian, is that there hasn't been super great communication about when the construction group were coming in. And so the last time they moved the fence, they actually moved a bunch of fruit trees and buried them in dirt. And it was not enough advance notice for the garden people to move it. And when you talk about moving that fence back, it means wiping out the year's raspberry harvest. Hopefully we will be able to harvest the garlic before this work is done. Like, there could have been better relationships. And that's why I guess you'll probably get a bit of an edge when I say it's being dismantled, because people are really positive about, oh, we can learn, we can fix the mistakes we made last time. But in the process, and they have been helpful, but they've also gone in and done things that nobody knew they were going to do, and it's resulted in just some heartbreaking losses. So who knows? For me, the opportunity to actually turn the lower field into a real farm, of which there are some interesting examples in other districts, is on the books. It's a bigger project. It's a long-term project. And I'm going to bring some more information to you all as a board, and maybe get the support for going forward on that. But you know, it is a gem, and I sure hope that you all understand what it is.
I think it's hard to appreciate how mature some of those trees are and some of the plants are without being in there. So I 100% agree. We have had an exceptionally difficult time getting our approval for those civil works at the front.
Mhm.
We're into revision 7 from the city, so we're very much at their mercy. And I agree with your commentary where it's been difficult for us to keep those folks informed in a timely manner. We haven't had a plan to share for part of that, for where that roadway and stuff's going to go. But you're absolutely right. There's some just fantastic things in there, and you know, we truly will do our best to try to preserve what we can.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. On to trustee report, Comox Valley Community Justice Center. Trustee McDonald.
Oh, there I went and muted myself again. That I think it sort of speaks for itself for information. It's my participation on that. We don't have a formal seat as a school district because of the way the organization was drawn up with representatives from the municipal parties. But that school board participation is appreciated. I know that Superintendent Nemeo sat on the board for a period of time. Very interesting. So I just thought you would be interested in knowing what is going on, and that the activities of the Justice Center are of particular interest right now as we look at our anti-racism activities and look at ourselves as Valley residents and think about what we're doing. So, but it also has always played a very valuable role in supporting diversion of court cases into an alternate resolution matter, and that does actually fairly often include things that relate to our students who may be heading down the wrong path, and the CJC created an opportunity for them to get back on track, and it's a really valuable partnership with the school district and community.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, seeing none, hearing none, going to motion. Trustee Caton.
Thank you. So, and I'm looking at the motion, and I think I probably made a little bit error on it, but I'll go over the content. So basically it is that a while ago, the BC ferries, once again, we're talking about reducing the ferries between our islands without consultation. And we had several of the island, the ferry committee resigned because of it. So as you see, this is not the first time BC Ferries has decided to consider reducing the ferries between Hornby and Denman. We have a number of our families live on there, go to school, and it does have an impact. Now, the Ministry of the provincial government did $111 million in funding allocation to stop the proposed cuts, but that's not going to change the fact that the fall they're losing money and they're looking at changing cuts again. So the intent of the motion was that the Board of Education write a letter to the Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure, Minister of Education, and to the President and CEO of BC Ferries, requesting that any changes to the ferry schedules be delayed until proper consultation with education authorities have occurred to ensure route changes do not adversely affect students' educational opportunities. And I would like in that letter to have some paragraph in there to express our displeasure and our dismay at them once again considering those cuts without consultation, based on the fact that this is not the first time and our association sent a letter to them. So while the motion doesn't say that exactly, I would hope, Chair Hargreaves, when you write a letter if this passes, that we can once again express our dismay at the lack of consultation, community consultation, and them proposing cuts that will have a serious impact on our communities. So that's my motion.
Okay, any questions?
I need a seconder.
Okay. Trustee McDonald?
Yes, yeah.
Seconded?
Definitely, yes.
Okay.
And just for information, the Ferry Advisory Committee, one of the reasons they quit was that the schedule was presented to them absolutely no notice in advance, although a decision was made evidently 3 months earlier. And so the lack of consultation with the communities, not just with us on educational matters, but with the community as a whole, was really felt like quite a slap in the face. They would appreciate the support.
And it's just a follow up too. It's not just our school district that's having this. This is scheduled. Quadra and Cortez Islands, their school community will also be impacted by proposed changes to them. So it will have an impact not only in the Comox Valley, but also several other districts. So just point of interest for other trustees.
Also, point of interest for trustees is that the government has provided cash to prevent cuts to the minor ferry routes as of June 18th.
And that's a temporary, only till the fall. These cuts are going to happen again. So this is a temporary infusion of funds.
Yep, but it's still there for at this time for people to know that they are redressing that. Okay, so any opposed? Okay, it passes. On to board correspondence. Now, I had a lovely conversation with with the Director Frisch. Let me just get, he called me, David.
Councillor Frisch.
Okay, I'll just get his title here as well. And it's Director Frisch, as he's sent the letter to me under. And we talked because of also my involvement with the Comox Valley Cycling Coalition. And what they are seeking, the Cycling Coalition is seeking, are the board's presence as signatories on a letter to the council regarding the bike path, pedestrian path, multi-use path. And it's in there, as well as a map of it and the letter with where we would be as signatures at the bottom. However, because of my involvement with the coalition, I am declaring conflict of interest, and I turn it over at this point to the Vice Chair, Trowley, to carry on with the rest of the discussion.
You're muted.
Thank you. The dogs were barking. I muted. Okay, so typically when we receive things for information, they aren't here to be discussed and motioned on and so forth when it's not brought forward as a motion. But because of the timeliness, the way things are in the world right now, we thought that we would offer the opportunity to have a motion brought forward because they are looking for a letter of support. And if anyone would like to make a motion in writing that letter of support.
Trustee Caton, I sent you a notice that I would be making a motion supporting the request.
Okay.
So as the district's representative on the Integrated Transportation Committee for the CVRD, I'd also, I'll second that and support this very strongly. It's there's no financial stake for us, but it is a piece of encouraging active travel, one of our strategic planning items, and that something that we should be adding our voice to. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
It's Michelle. I'm a little confused. I know I received through email some information, but just to be clear, the letter I have that was provided is in terms of correspondence in the agenda is from the president of the Comox Valley Cycling Coalition. I just want to make sure that I'm looking at the correct document.
Sorry, I'm just taking a look through here.
I believe that it is that Councillor Frisch forwarded the letter that they wrote, but he is the chair of the Integrated Transportation Committee and is a very avid advocate. So he was forwarding it to us to see if we would be interested in support, but that cover letter from him or email is not there.
Okay, great, thanks. I just want to make sure I was looking at the right document.
And somehow it made its way to GPAC has already considered and supported it, and it got to them before it got to us as board members. I think it just missed our last meeting.
Okay, thank you. So do we have any further discussion on this?
I have a little question afterwards, after the vote on this, Tanya.
Okay, Janice, did you want to say anything more on this?
No, I just think as what Sheila was mentioning, this fits with our community plan, our engagement, our transportation, our safe cycling. It really does fit with our district goals. So I think that we should support it and send a letter and in supporting of it, especially with people wanting to bike now.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so anyone opposed to us writing a letter of support to the coalition, cycling coalition? Seeing none, that passes, and I will pass it back to our chair, Hargraves.
Thank you very much. On now to correspondence.
Sheila's trying to say something.
Oh, Sheila. Okay, sorry.
I had a follow-up question on the cycling issues, which was that another initiative that's going on has been for a number of years the development of a more standing committee of the CVRD for this integrated active travel. And I understand that a memorandum of understanding was recently circulated to establish that with some terms of reference. And I believe, and this is through you, Chair, to the superintendent, I believe that the school district has signed on. I'm assuming that was through our commitment to it as one of our strategic plans, but I don't remember seeing the memorandum itself. I know that Councillor Frisch was going to make presentations at various municipal councils, and he said that it didn't need to happen because we had already supported it, and it was around the operational collaboration amongst the operational people in our various districts. Do you have any more information about that for us? Is that something that we still need to take a look at as a board?
Nothing further from our end.
Okay.
And nothing's come to me. So if you can get something sent our way, Sheila,
I'll try and chase it down, because it was one of those things where we've got all the multi-parties that have standing there, and we've been trying for some time to move it forward. I know that in the past, the district had indicated its support for the whole concept, and then it was the city of Courtenay referred it to the CVRD, and it's been taking a while to get anything official. So I'll follow up on that with David.
Thank you. Trustee Howe.
Thank you.
I know that they had an active travel website that they were launching, but there was some quirks with it and it hasn't launched yet. But I was meant to be emailed with that information, and I was going to pass that on to the chair. And it was just some opportunities for community members, but they thought that they would pass it along to me and to Ian, to Tom, to distribute for students over the summertime, which I will do when I get that information and you guys can do what you will with it at that time, but that's all I've heard on it.
Correspondence from British Columbia School Trustees Association to Janice Caton. Congratulations, Janice, for your work on the Finance and Audit Committee.
Thank you. And I'm on another committee now too. So I love my work with BCSD and being a school trustee. So I appreciate your acknowledgement. Thank you.
Correspondence from student Julia Jengerwith.
Youngworth.
Youngworth? Okay.
Youngworth, yeah.
Youngworth. To the Board of Education, proposal compost pickup for School District 71. This was sent to me and I have been sent it on to be included for your information. Public question period. We've reached that point in our meeting. Do we have anyone online or sending in a question at all? Josh?
Nope, nothing at the moment.
Okay, I'll wait a few moments because last time they came in a little bit later. We still got none?
Still nothing.
Okay. I think it was almost 5 minutes after we closed off for the last one, but I'm not sure whether we hit, it's 8:40 now, and we've got an in-camera to go to. So if there is any questions that come in afterwards, we will most certainly answer them and most certainly publish the answer and bring it back to the board for the next board meeting. But at this point, having heard and seen none, I will then seek a motion for adjournment of the last board meeting of the school year. Public board meeting. Okay. Then I would declare us adjourned. Give us a couple of minutes again to freshen up, and let's try to reconvene 8:45. How's that sound?